Wind River highlighted a segment of the US which normally gets marginalized, and by doing so, created something that's quite fresh.
Canada be damned. I'm going to the Klondike.
The Klondike is Canada.
Giorgio, you be doing just fine, brother.
There's no such thing as a new story. That's a phrase you've probably heard before, and perhaps even used yourself. Lord knows I have, and I've used it when talking about stories in a broad sense, as well as when they're boiled down to their bare essentials. If you're like me, a lover of movies, it probably feels as if you've seen just about everything there is to see. However, a few years ago in 2017, Taylor Sheridan's Wind River quietly came on the scene and delivered a story which, on the face of it, sounds familiar, but when its raw ingredients were blended together, the results felt fresh and surprisingly untold. Wind River is a venture into the harsh landscape of Middle America, more specifically, Wyoming's Wind River Native Reservation, where a body of a young woman named Natalie is discovered by a local hunter, Corey, played by Jeremy Renner. An out-of-state FBI agent, Jane, played by Elizabeth Olsen, is assigned to the case, and together with the local sheriff, Ben, played by the legendary Greene, they turn Wind River inside out to find Natalie's perpetrator.
Sorry, what is it that you do again?
Hunter.
You're a lion hunter?
I hunt predators.
Good, so why don't you come hunt one for me then?
The sad truth as to why Wind River feels so original is that its story and components are seldom told or touched upon in film. Rarely do you see more than one Native American in a film, and if you do, it's likely a Western, and they're the mystic nomads who dole out poetic dialogue with sage advice. But in the past few years, films like Blood Quantum and Wind River have made big progress in that respect, taking a modern-day setting and making Indigenous people an integral part of the film. Although the two leads of Wind River aren't Native Americans, the film does more than most films to showcase Native talent and put a spotlight on modern issues involving Native communities. And by having a white lead who's not part of the community, Olsen's character is used as the perfect conduit to illustrate the ignorance or division between the races.
So why would you let your daughter stay with a guy you've never met? Whose name you don't even know?
She was an adult.
Barely.
Una shaptai wapa. Oh,
I'm sorry, what does that mean?
it ain't good.
Jeremy Renner's character, on the other hand, is a different story. Although not native, Corey is a local who clearly has strong ties with the community. His involvement is one of neither ignorance nor an overcorrection of pandering to show that not all whites are evil. We know this because the core of Corey's being is that he's simply a local. To the most intimate avenues, natives are immersed in Corey's life. Neither the character nor the filmmakers make big waves about this because why should they? Not once does Corey use the word native or any other First Nation nomenclature because A, he's a man of few words, to begin with, but more importantly B, he's so entrenched with natives on an everyday basis, any attempt to emphasize any difference or divisions would be counter to who he is and would likely be fruitless. Corey's more of a man of action than words, and his earned trust and respect from the native characters who surround him is more than enough proof of his close affiliation to the community.
If you find out who did this, I don't care who it is. You understand me?
Right where they stand.
Outside of race, there is a second act of neglect which Wind River may or may not have intended to highlight. Although clearly not as critical as missing or murdered Indigenous women, nevertheless, I feel it's worth mention. Being set in Wyoming, the heartland of America, it feels so blindingly obvious when you see Wind River how unique it is to have stories set in that region. This probably has more to do with finance and logistics of filmmaking than narrative and stories set in Middle America. Yet, I can't refrain from being cynical that Hollywood bean counters look at the population density differences between this area and the coasts, and somehow equate that to the lack of relatability and lost dollars. No doubt, this is a result of never being in those regions, and dismissively writing off half of the US with the reprehensible label of flyover country. Wind River reminds us of that isolation and uses it to show our ignorance of it, while displaying the blasé local acceptance that this is the nature of things.
Should we just maybe wait for some backup?
Well, this isn't a land of backup, Jane. This is a land of you're on your own. Hey, don't look at me. I'm used to no help.
You have 6 officers on your entire force to cover an area the size of Rhode Island.
Yes, I know that.
No offense, but this would have to curl up in your lap in order for you to solve it.
I know that too.
It probably doesn't help that Harvey Weinstein had a hand in making Wind River in terms of its financial success, especially when its release was in the wake of the Me Too movement. The irony that a film involving sexual assault was co-created by a then accused rapist screamed hypocrisy in the face of those who knew of his involvement in Wind River. Given its moderate box office surplus, coupled with the general lack of awareness around Weinstein's participation in this film, I can only speculate that Wind River's tepid success can be chalked up to marketing. Its liabilities, real or perceived, may have contributed to the film's home under the radar. But now that I've said what I've said, I hope you'll take the time to check out Wind River for yourself, if you haven't already. If you decide not to, that's your business, and I appreciate you listening to my spiel. But if you're on the fence, I would encourage you to see it. Not only does Wind River address real-world issues which have been neglected for years by putting them on the big screen, it does so with such skill and accuracy, it feels shameful to have never known, or to have never been told.